Okay, so in this lesson, I want to show you something called crating. Crating is a technical term used when we want to draw something in isometric, but we're not entirely sure how. And we're going to use the crating technique to draw ourselves a table. Now, I'm going to be pressing quite hard on my pencil line so you can see it. But what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to start off with a rectangular isometric shape that I think a table would fit into. So imagine I bought a table from, I don't know, IKEA. This is the box that's going to arrive in, fully assembled. It's not a flat pack box, it's fully assembled. So this is the box I imagine it would arrive in, just like that. That's my table box. With my table box though, I also need to make sure, I need to x-ray it. I need to make sure that everything inside is okay. So my box needs to be transparent, which means I need to see the back edge or the back edges. So from this corner here that I'm just going to mark with a little X, I'm going to bring myself a nice parallel line, parallel to this line here, coming downwards. Same for this point here. I'm going to draw myself a nice parallel line parallel to this front one here, all the way so it meets and they connect. And then I'm going to join the final two together. So now I have an invisible box. I have an invisible crate. I'm going to draw my table inside of this crate. So my table, if I draw a very quick view here, from the side, it's going to look like this with two legs coming down like so. There we go. So I have to consider the thickness of my table and the thickness of my legs. So I'm going to start with the top of the table. Now I know already that the outside edge from the top, the outside surface, that is going to stay. So what I can do is I can actually go over that a little bit darker to show that these lines aren't going anywhere. Because when you draw your crate, you use really light pencil because then you can erase it. You can get rid of it really, really quickly or really easily. So this is the top of my table. I'm now going to represent the thickness, and I'm going to say my table is going to be this thick. I'm just judging it by eye. It's about just under a centimetre. You don't need to get a ruler. You don't need to start measuring, because when we draw freehand, it's good to not use a ruler because this is just freehand sketching. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to join these ends all together. Remember, I'm keeping all my lines parallel to the opposite. So parallel, we're going right next to each other like train tracks. They'll never ever meet, okay? So I'm going to copy this line and I'm going to copy it under here. There you go. And then same for back here. There we go. I now have the top of my table. Beautiful. Now it's time to do the legs. For the legs, I want my legs actually to be cylindrical. So what that means is they're going to have a little rounded end. So the first thing we'll do lightly, I'm going to draw the thickness of my legs quite lightly. I always start with the end ones. Now for this leg that is closest to us, it's actually going to be a little bit bigger. We're going to see a little bit more of it because technically we're seeing two sides of it and not just one. So it's going to look a little bit bigger than the others, and that's perfectly normal. The other thing we need to consider is, can we see the leg at the back? And we can, because I can see the corner of my box. So I'm just going to see a small amount of leg, but I am going to see it. It is going to be there. I want the bottom of those legs to be cylindrical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw myself a little arc within the box to show that it's cylindrical, to show that it's rounded. So these two are actually a lot easier to do. This one is a bit less so. We're just going to draw a little arc. There we go. A little arc. There we go. So it represents the fact that these are now cylindrical. So cylindrical like a tube. Okay. So I've now got 4 cylindrical legs. And that is our table so far. So far, so good, right? We're doing really well with this. However, I've decided that I want my table to be a little bit more different. I want it to be a little bit more fun. So what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to draw an above view of my table. And I've decided that my table is going to have a nice glass panel right in the middle of it. Right in the middle, I'm going to have a glass panel. It's going to be timber here. Love our timber, right? And then a glass panel. So I now need to draw that glass panel inside my table. And I know you're probably thinking, oh gosh, how am I going to do that? It's not going to be too bad. I'm going to use my crate line, so really, really gentle. I'm going to draw myself some nice, gentle, parallel lines inside my table to represent where the glass is going to go. And the glass is going to go here. So there we go. I've got a nice, small, light pencil rectangle to represent where my glass is going to go. And I can make this a little bit darker now, because I know that that's where it's going to be, just like that. There we go. Excellent, I'm happy with that. However, see this line here? I'm now going to be able to see my table leg through the glass. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to continue the leg that we drew at the bottom. We're going to continue that going upwards like so, but we need to draw in the thickness to represent the timber frame, because I drew it as just under 1 centimetre thick, so I need to draw that here and then draw some more parallel lines. That was actually a little bit thicker, but never mind. And now I have a glass panel in the middle of my table. And what I can do from this point is I can start going over the lines that I'm keeping all in a darker pencil to make them really, really obvious, make them prominent, to show that I'm going to keep them. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get an eraser or a rubber, and I'm going to rub the lines I don't need out. And that is just going to leave me with a nice, clean table that I'm then going to render to represent those materials. Okay, so what I've done is I have just used my rubber and I have erased all those lines I didn't need. Still got a little bit of remnants here, but it's not too bad. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to render my table to represent the materials. So I said that the frame at the top is going to be timber, the legs are going to be metal, and the middle is going to be glass. Now I know you're thinking, I don't think we've been shown how to do glass. You haven't, but that's okay. I'm going to show you now. I'm actually going to start with the timber frame. So with the timber frame, we're going to use our yellow first of all, and just like how you may have done in the past, we're just going to do a nice gentle light coat of yellow, making sure that the pencil is just going in one direction. There we go. Same again, and on the edge as well. So a nice light layer. I'm going to make it a bit more medium now. It's looking a bit better. Now, when you are rendering your table, when you're rendering the timber, don't forget you've got to do the inner thickness as well, because we've got glass. Now, I know we're going to put glass over it, and that's absolutely fine, but we still need to render it. So I've done my light yellow. I'm now going to get my orange, and I'm going to start adding some grain lines. So in case you can't remember, grain is the fibers that you can see from timber. Because it grows, it goes in an upwards direction, which means you're going to see nice straight lines. Unless it's a branch, then you might see some waves. Now what I'm going to do at the end, I'm just going to do them straight down, like so. Also doing it for the edges, straight down at the end here as well. And then we're going to add a splash of brown, just to really help get those grain lines in and really show that it is in fact timber. So there we go, and coming down. There we go, and you keep layering that until you're happy with it. You might find that you want a bit more yellow, a bit more orange, because remember, not all timber is just brown. Oh, you can't see that. Not all timber is just brown. It has loads of different hues, loads of different colors in it. Now for the legs. The legs I think might be, I don't know, tricky, easy, it's up to you. We want a nice beam of light going right in the middle of the leg. It's going to be quite small. And then we're going to go from from dark to medium to dark again. So you don't have much wiggle room to really work with this. So it is going to look a little bit odd, but that is fine. This one might be a bit better. So dark to medium, and then to dark again, dark, medium, and then to dark again. So the legs might look a little bit on the odd side, but, oh, what you can also do, because it's curved at the end, you can just render it so there's a bit of darkness coming down to show that's kind of, that is curvy. Same on the end, dark, medium, dark. That wasn't a very good one. Dark, medium, dark. That wasn't very good either. Dark, medium, dark. Dark, medium, dark. My pencil's starting to get blunt. Dark, medium, dark. Dark, medium, dark. There we go. Not brilliant, but you get the gist of what it is, so that's okay. Now as for the glass. So we are going to use traditional blue. Traditional blue. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add a really light shade of blue. Really light shade of blue. Now, yes, over the yellow, it might go a bit green. That is absolutely fine. I'm just going to do one more layer to make sure I've covered it all a bit evenly. There we go. That's my nice shade of blue. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a couple sharp blue lines going diagonally across to show the fact it is glass, to show the fact that there is something that's reflecting off it. I don't want pure white. I just wanted glass. I just wanted blue. The only thing I want to do here is I just want to fix these legs because these legs make me very sad. So I have lost my my line there, my light line, but that's okay because they're so narrow. It would just be a thin line anyway. But yeah, I don't like these legs. These legs need sorting out. That's a bit better. Okay, and there we go. That's my rendered table. So now I have a table that I've drawn in a crate and I've rendered it to represent the materials that I would make it out of if I had the opportunity. So there you go. Really hope you found that useful and happy rendering.